Today we're going to make a really easy recipe for something very delicious, salmon croquettes. I'm going to use a can of bumblebee red salmon to start the recipe. This is wild caught. It's really delicious. You can also use some leftover salmon that you might have cooked. We're going to use some mayonnaise, some Italian style breadcrumbs, a can of cream of mushroom soup. I have the one here for cremini and shiitake mushrooms. There's so many varieties. Some have roasted garlic, some have golden mushrooms, which is also mixed with corn. We're going to use some lemon juice, a Vidalia onion, 2 tablespoons of butter, and a little bit of oil to fry this in. So let me get the recipe started. We're going to start by working on the salmon a little bit, taking out the bones and skin, and then we'll get ready to mix. Okay, we're going to drain off all the juices. We don't need them. This is your least favorite part of this recipe, but it doesn't take long. All we want to do is break it apart. Usually the bones are easy to take out. Some people enjoy eating that part too, but I'm making these for my mom for lunch, and I want them to be really nice. So, and then you want to make sure that you take off all the skin. I take off the dark meat from the underbelly, and it all comes off very easily, just like if you made a fresh one. Usually I take off the dark meat out of any kind of large fish like this. Really nice meat coming out of a can though, look. Flaky, yummy, looks delicious. And it's usually in very large pieces and it's easy to handle. Just scrape it off with a knife. Unless you love it, some people do. You know, I worked in a seafood department years ago, and some people would come in and ask for the skin, and they would fry it into little rolls like potato chips. So some people do love that. When I would, and I used to demo cooking fish and different things, and people would ask me to feed them the fried skin. Like I would give them samples of salmon so they could taste it, different types of salmon. And when I did that, they would say, "Oh, don't take the skin off of that. I want to eat the skin because it's so crunchy." So some people like it. Maybe you do too. But for a canned salmon, I like to just take off all the parts that are aren't as pretty for something like this. Okay. Alright, next we want to measure a cup of breadcrumbs. I'm using the Italian seasoned breadcrumbs because then we don't have to add a lot of extra herbs or spices. Already seasoned for us. About a cup. And I'm going to start to melt 2 tablespoons of butter here. Get ready while we're doing the rest of it. Just going to pop that in the microwave. I'm going to use about half of this Vidalia onion. You want about a 1/4 cup. So let me chop that up, and so we'll make it nice and small. Alright. Now I also want to juice up a lemon here. Went about a 1/4 cup. I just took the juice of 1 lemon. We're going to add the can of mushroom soup. If you want to add salt and pepper, you can. I'm not adding anything here because I'm trying to make this a low sodium meal for my mom. And the cream of mushroom soup already has quite enough sodium in it. So I think we'll have enough flavors that we don't need to add anything. Let's add the melted butter in here. Okay, now all we have to do is mix that up. I'm saving the mayonnaise and the rest of the breadcrumbs to roll the croquettes in after we get them mixed and get them refrigerated so that they get a little bit more firm. So we're going to save that for the next step. My mom used to make these for us when we were kids. Now we're making them for her. And she included this recipe in her blog, shirleyswords.com. She writes a blog and has a lot of stuff going on in that website. But the recipe can always be found there in a grouping that she has called Recipes from the Past. And it was so nice of her to make recipe cards for all the kids and grandkids of some of these favorite recipes. Okay, now we have a nice even mixture here. And the reason I put it in a 6-cup Pyrex dish is I thought this would chill faster if I set it in the refrigerator. So I really just want to chill it down, make it a little bit stiffer to work with, and we'll be back when it's nice and cold. In the meantime, I'm making a little bit of white sauce here. I've melted some butter, I'm adding some flour, a little bit of ground pepper. I'm going to make a nice creamy white sauce with peas. And we're going to pour this over top of the salmon croquettes. It's a nice way to eat that. And now that I think about this recipe, this originated with my grandmother, Edna Spengler. This was her recipe and something that they enjoyed, and my mom enjoyed when she was a kid. Just going to add some milk and stir it and cook it. This is a nice consistency. You don't want it too thick because it's going to help to moisten the croquettes, and it's a nice way to eat them. Okay, there we go. When the boiling starts, the sauce is so nice and thick. You can see the pepper in there. You can add other herbs if you like to. Alright, now I'm going to add some frozen peas. That's about a half of a bag, which is about right for this amount of cream. Turn off the heat, and here we're going to turn off the heat and just let the peas cook in the scalding sauce here, and they'll be ready when we are. Okay. Okay, now we're going to get ready. While the burner's hot, we can start heating up the oil. I'm going to use my nice heavy cast iron pan, and And I'm going to add some oil. I'm just using vegetable oil here. I'm going to get that simmering. And we're going to get the cold salmon out of the refrigerator. We're going to work quick here. I poured the rest of the breadcrumbs on the plate here. Okay, so we have the breadcrumbs on the plate. I'm going to take some mayonnaise. And we're going to put a scoop of that on the plate. Now this is what we're going to dip in before we get the breadcrumbs to stick to the croquette. So we're going to take some of the salmon mixture. I'm going to scoop it up with an ice cream scoop. That's about the right size that I want. I want it to be in a little ball. Dip in the mayonnaise. And into the breadcrumbs. We're going to get a couple balls ready here. Yep, it's a little messy, but that's how you do it. Mayonnaise and breadcrumbs. As soon as the oil's ready, we're going to start dropping them in. Make another ball, roll it in the mayonnaise, into the breadcrumbs. Okay, now the oil is starting to sizzle, so we're going to take them right from the breadcrumbs into the pan. I'm just going to make it a little bit like a cone. See that sizzling? That's the perfect temperature. The mayonnaise makes that crust a little bit crispy because it has some fat in it too, aside from the oil. They smell good. I'm still going to have to turn them. I'm just going to gently turn them. Start cooking the other side. Look how nice and crispy. Oh my gosh. They remind me of crab cakes. I'm just going to keep rolling them around a little bit so they get nice and brown on all sides. If you want them to be a certain shape, sometimes I make them in a little bit of a cone shape, then you just need to refrigerate them a little bit longer so that they will retain the shape before you stick them in the oil. They'll be a little bit more firm. But these are beautiful, like little crab patties. Okay, we're going to get them out of the pan. Put them on a paper towel to take away the extra oil. Very carefully. Very nice. Very nice little croquettes. Okay, we're going to serve the croquettes with some nice creamy peas and white sauce. Of course, I made one for myself to taste. Here it is, salmon croquettes with white sauce and peas. Look at how nice and flaky the salmon is. And the breadcrumbs are crispy and brown. Mmm. And scoop up some of the sauce and peas with that. Oh my goodness. Mmm. Mmm. That's yummy. Okay. Try my recipe from my mom and my grandma. I'll put the link on here to my mom's blog in case you'd like to read what she wrote about it. And you'll find the recipe there too. The memories are as good as the salmon croquettes. Thanks for watching.